Hey everyone, I'm doing something a little wild and crazy today. We'll see how it goes. Earlier today, I posted a practice tip on social media and it said the following. Each time you practice, be sure to incorporate practice techniques that tap into both sides of your brain, the analytical side and the creative side, to help keep perfectionism and discouragement at bay. This is one of the things that I hold in my mind when I practice all the time, because I really do feel that when you're practicing and you're learning notes and you're working really hard in the practice room, it can be so easy to dwell only on the right side of your brain, which is the very analytical side that's going to give you feedback, it's going to give you solutions for problems, that type of thing. The only problem with that is we can neglect the other side of our brain, our I'm all of a sudden blanking out, our right side of our brain. Yeah, I think I got it backwards. Anyway, the right side of our brain, that is the creative side of our brain. We need to tap into that too if we want to have a really multifaceted practice, and then for our performances to be even more vibrant and exciting. I wanted to do a little video because a friend of mine on Twitter said, well, maybe you could explain a little bit about the creative side of practice. What do you mean by that? And how do you incorporate that? So let's see if I can do that in just a few minutes. This friend recommended that I use 3 blind mice. That person may have been joking, but we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go with it for now. So I'm going to use 3 blind mice just in one hand, keep it really simple, because you can apply this technique no matter what you're playing. If you're playing a single line instrument or something like the piano that's using multiple voices. All right, so 3 blind mice, everybody knows it, or maybe most people. Right? So very short. And I think, like, let's say we were first learning this piece, we would probably be sweating over the correct notes, the correct fingerings, where do we move our hands, the fast notes up here, all those little details. So that's, yes, stuff we need to work on. But at the same time, or maybe in a different part of your practice, I think it's also important, even from the very beginning of learning a piece, to use that creative, artistic side of your brain to answer some questions for yourself so that you're injecting musicality from the beginning too. For instance, you've got the first phrase. And I would say, well, that's a descending scale going from mi to do, or from E to C in this instance. Okay, but it's not just E, D, C. That's boring if you just see it as those letter names. So instead I see it as a shape, I see it as a downward slide, something like that, a downward scale. And with that I say, well, usually when I go down in a scale, you can diminuendo. So let's inject that in there and see what happens. So instead of in this case, if I'm in my, I get this wrong, my left side of my brain, I'm just going to be doing all this analytical stuff like, oh, that note wasn't long enough, it wasn't short enough, it's the wrong note, but I don't want to focus on that right now, right? So, and okay, it repeats itself twice. There's another thing right there. Maybe don't do the second one the same dynamic. I don't know. So let's try it loud first. Okay, then the next phrase, it's also a descending line, right? That repeats. So what can we do? Maybe we echo that second phrase of that second melodic thing. So we have okay, I don't know. There's other ways you can do it. The fun is playing around with these options, even from the get-go of learning a piece. Now let's take the second to last bit. This part repeats 3 times, basically. And it's very different, right? It's not just a descending line. So this is much more exciting. And there's also many more notes. And when I think about the shape, so this is thinking creatively, it's thinking artistically, it jumps up and goes down and then back up and then down at the very end. Well, that's a neat shape. It's like when I think of that shape, I kind of think wee, which is silly, but that's the way it is. So I love going up that second time. Now we do it again. Now a third time. And then one note transition back to the first statement. And I'll probably diminuendo again since I've sort of set it up that way. So I hope that sort of gives you some ideas at a very basic level of how even at the beginning of learning a piece, you can be looking for patterns in the music, shapes in the music, direction, and those indications or those things that you find can really help you to start playing around with the music, the creative side from the very beginning. And I promise you, if you can do that, it's going to make your practicing more interesting and fun. It's going to make it more gratifying for you, because why do we do music? Because it's fun to play, it's beautiful, it's satisfying emotionally. And then another benefit is then when you're learning something from using more parts of your brain, it's actually been proven that that can strengthen those connections in your brain even more because you're giving it more information. So I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you later.